Hello, friends. David Nuno here. TexAgs Rewind presented by our friends at Yeti. Somebody commented like they didn't understand. Did you see this comment, by the way? They didn't understand why we called it the Rewind because they were expecting the Rewind to be, like of a game, right? Like, I don't understand.
I get the confusion, but yeah, it's just a little recap of what we had on today's radio show.
I think today's show was pretty good. What did you think?
I think it was pretty good as well.
We had 23 and 23. Number 3, McKinley Jackson. I wonder who's number 1 and who's number 2.
There's 2 players left. Who could they be?
Who could they be? And are they offensive or defensive players? What say you? Who hasn't been mentioned so far? Put it below. Who do you think is going to be 1? Who's going to be 2? I'm sure you guys can figure it out. Will your order be correct? I don't know. John Harris, loved his insight, but I always love John Harris's insight. Did you like that little bit I was doing with him? 1972, this Heisman.
That I really wish I had that memory. I mean, that would serve me so well in a lot of things I do, but I just don't.
I don't remember anything. I remember my kids' names.
Exactly. I don't know what I did yesterday.
I really don't remember what I had for lunch on Monday. That's a fact. Even though I have the same lunch every day. Doesn't matter. Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC. We did quarterback battles because it's fun to do right now because people are all mad about who's going to be the quarterback. Let me know. Why don't they announce it? And we did Recruiting Country. Who was the guy on Recruiting Country? What's his name again?
That was Ryan Brauninger.
Just check it out and watch. It's TexAgs Rewind. Number 3, McKinley Jackson.
Yep, Mount McKinley Jackson.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. He's a first rounder. No, he's
nasty.
He's nasty. Look, here's the facts. The rush defense obviously struggled last year. They were significantly better when he was healthy and back in the lineup.
Without a doubt. I mean, he's your best interior lineman. And, he played. He got a cup of coffee, I guess, in the Miami game. So, but essentially, he didn't play the first 5 games of the season. And then I think they used him very sparingly against UMass. So, essentially, he played half the season.
Yep.
And when he played, get this, he got no tackles against Miami, and Massachusetts. When he, I think he barely even played. I think he just might have stepped on the field, and then was completely out of 4 games. So in half the games, an interior lineman, he had 37 tackles in half the games. Now, I'm not saying that if he'd played all 12 games, that 37 turns into 74, but understand in a given year, 37 tackles for a interior lineman is a very solid, even impressive total. As you start getting around 40, that's very productive. He did it in 6 games.
Yep.
This is how active this guy is. You know what? He had 7 tackles for losses in essentially 6 games. Big-time player. And they missed him last year, and had he been able to play at the beginning of the year, A&M, I feel comfortable to saying they might have won another game or 2 because their run defense probably would have been a little bit better.
So I spoke to a scout when I was in Nashville, and he told me, and by the way, the coaches are backing this up if you look at the all-SEC teams.
I'm watching, and I can't take my eyes off him. The power, the quickness, the hands. Holy cow, this guy's a demon. They can't block him. He is just messing everything up. He's taking on double teams. He's dropping to a knee and torquing through it. I mean, doing it exactly like you're supposed to. The power. I'm like, man. So I make all these notes. I got all my notes over here, and I'm like, he's got to be in my top 100. I mean, he's a fantastic player. The next morning, I swear to God, Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl tweets out the exact same video that I had been looking at, the same play, and I'm like, oh my God, this is weird. Because he had done that for another player that I had watched the night before. And so I'm watching him thinking, that guy is dynamic. That is the way defensive linemen in the NFL are supposed to look. And I feel like we're in kind of this heyday of interior defensive linemen in the NFL. Aaron Donald is a special, special dude. He's up on a kind of a shelf. But you got the Dexter Lawrences, the Jonathan Allens, the Jerome Paynes, Christian Wilkins, who I got a chance to see last week in practice. There are dudes everywhere now. I think McKinley Jackson can be one of those dudes. He can be a guy that in the right system and scheme, like I would love to see him in our system where he and his strength and his quickness would be so disruptive because it's really get upfield now. And as strong and as quick as he is, I think he would be an absolute menace. I got a feeling that if he stays healthy this year, I think he's 59 or 60 in my Harris 100 right now. I think he's probably going to be, if those things happen, he stays healthy mainly. I think he could be a top 32 pick. I think he could get into the first round. I don't feel bad in saying that. I think this is going to be a tremendous. Everybody declares. If everybody declares, I think it's going to be a tremendous interior defensive lineman class. And I think McKinley Jackson's right in the thick of it. Right in the thick of it.
Yeah, it has been a while. And the thing that's crazy to me, David, I talked about this on my Locked On SEC show today. I can't remember a time where there's been this much optimism around the conference. And I say this on the heels of Mississippi State just announced yesterday they sold out their season ticket allotment for this year. Auburn has done the same. Tennessee has done the same. Alabama has announced all their home games have been sold out. Like, it's been this chain reaction of team after team after team has been announcing, they've sold out their season ticket allotment. Like, they've increased their season ticket allotment and they've sold that out. And the student section tickets are sold out. Like, Kentucky announced they've been sold out. Like, it's crazy. And I'm not saying like buying tickets means, oh, we're going undefeated, but like, I have not heard any pessimism anywhere, David. Like, every fan base I've talked to at SEC Media Days, people who cover the teams, fans of the teams, like, everyone is super optimistic about their teams this year. And I'm just going, wait a minute, like, someone has to be down. Like, someone is not going to achieve what they want to achieve this year. And I get it. The season's about to start and everybody's undefeated. And so, there is reason for optimism, but I just can't remember a time where it's been this much optimism. Like, typically there's at least one or two fan bases who are like, I don't know, man, 6 wins might be it for us, or our coach is on the hot seat. Like, even every Aggie fan I've talked to is like, I think we bounce back this year. So it's just been wild that, there's just so much optimism right now. Maybe that's a good thing.
Talking to Chris Gordy here on TexAgs Radio. You brought up Mississippi State. I wanted to ask you, they're such an interesting team because the conventional thinking would be if Coach Leach were back, people would be saying this is a team that might win 9 or 10 games. They won 9 last year. Why not? The fact that Coach Leach isn't there has some, and they lost some players too. There's no doubt about that. But when it comes to Will Rogers, are you surprised he isn't typically listed as one of the top 2 quarterbacks? Because I feel like it's always Jaden or KJ, and Will Rogers is kind of forgotten.
Yeah, it's so tough. And I've seen a couple of outlets doing their quarterback rankings this week. And it's like, it's so hard to do those things because what are we ranking? Are we ranking on production? Because if we're ranking on production, Will Rogers is among the best.
Brian, one of the things I know that you wanted to talk about was the presence in the Metroplex and how A&M needs to step up the game.
Well, yeah, when you just look at the recruiting, Jason and I were actually talking about this in one of our just regular conversations, and we mentioned it on the TexAgs High School Football Show, which will presented by Academy, which will start tomorrow, week 1 preview of the state. But like, Jason's looking at taking some out-of-state trips because A&M is recruiting a lot of guys out of state. He just wrapped up that tour of Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. But he's also maybe potentially looking at going to the Northeast to see Jalen Hornsby and Miles O'Neal and guys up there. And it's just kind of weird that A&M doesn't have a lot of presence in Dallas in the class of 24. Now, they're after some guys up there. I just mentioned Zena and Nigel. They're the 25s. There's a handful of them in 25, but there's not a lot of 24 presence. And that's coming off a recruiting class last year where I think just Javon Thomas was from Dallas that they signed. And so that's 2 classes in a row where you're going to be pretty thin in the Metroplex. I just think that that's a conversation that the recruiting staff or the people over there need to look at and go, all right, how do we increase our presence in Dallas? Because, yeah, you can go get the best players in Houston every year. It's going to be a battle, but you can do it. But I don't think you can put the best roster together at Texas A&M without trying to go get the best players in Dallas as well.
Bronny, is there some names out there that you think, yeah, this guy and this guy are going to be some risers this year once we see them, the work that they've put in?
Miles O'Neal. Have you seen the videos coming out from that kid?
Tell me more.
He's posted some like preseason. I guess they get started a little bit later up there. Yeah. He's posted some workout videos, and again, it's just a private workout, so who really knows? But just the raw arm talent has been extremely impressive. I know one of the national services has kind of caught up on him in terms of his rating. I think he's poised for a big jump across multiple services if he plays, and he's also jumping up in a big way in level of competition, moving from Massachusetts to that school in New Jersey.
Nick, we did a 3-hour radio show where we didn't really announce or proclaim we've hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube.
You're right. We never even talked about it.
Like, we made such a big deal about it, we forgot to mention it.
Blew past it. We're crushing it. Please keep it up. Means a lot. We're working hard on it. We're trying to bring you more content than just the Rewind and the live show. We're going to have Chris Gordy on there later today. Texas High School Football Show starts back up. You had a luchador yesterday. You should be getting a lot of stuff throughout the football season.
I feel like a parent that's never satisfied. Like your kid gets a 91. You're like, why didn't you get a 98? Like, seriously, why didn't you get 100? That's how I feel right now. Because 10,000 subscribers, as much as I love it, and thank you so much for subscribing, for an entity as good as TexAgs, it should be double that.
You know what number we should hit sometime soon?
What's that?
12,000. 12. That'd be good.
It took
good
us
number
a
for us.
year to get 1,000.
Well, now we're just absolutely killing it. We're on a roll. Why not stop?
If we get the 12,000 before the bye week,
that's fair.
Nick will take one of you to lunch with my credit card.
Okay, sure.
One of you, just one, random. We'll pick it. Maybe not. This is a very long outro. I'm sorry. Bye.